Masks are required tonight. If you're in a county with 4 or more active cases, you're expected to wear one. But who will enforce this new rule? We'll tell you who not to call. Plus, federal funds are helping keep businesses afloat and workers paid during the pandemic. More from the Blackfeet Reservation. Plus,
Bainville and Culbertson community members want to see something done as they continue to see friends and family lose their lives on the tracks. I'm Keely Van Middendorp, and I'll have more next.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening and thanks for trusting MTN this Thursday. I'm Keely Van Middendorp.
And I'm Tim McGonigal. Almost 40 states are seeing an increase in COVID cases tonight, including Montana, and officials reported 2 more coronavirus-related deaths in the state today. Lewis and Clark County has seen its first COVID-19 related death. It occurred in a person over the age of 65. It's one of 2 deaths reported in the Treasure State since yesterday. The other was in Billings at the Canyon Creek Memory Care Facility. Overall, the state reported 135 additional cases over a 24-hour period. It's the first time the state has seen 3 consecutive days with 100 or more cases.
Well, earlier today, county officials gathered outside Cascade County Sheriff's Office for a joint press conference in response to the governor's order mandating masks in places like Cascade County. Great Falls Police Department, Cascade County Sheriff's Office, and Cascade County Attorney's Office announced that they would support the city county health department's enforcement of the mask mandate throughout the county. However, Sheriff Slaughter explained that while Cascade County law enforcement officials support the mandate, they are not responsible for enforcing that citizens comply with it.
There's nothing in the Constitution that means that me as a law enforcement officer can walk up to a citizen on the public and demand that they wear a mask. We are asking you to wear a mask because we don't want to see more people get sick, and we also want to protect our businesses that are very much under this mandate because of their licenses.
While law enforcement isn't responsible for enforcing the mandate, the Cascade City County Health Department is. If you'd like to report a mask violation by a business or individual, you can call the number listed on your screen. Do not call 911 as that line is reserved for emergency calls. And there's been chatter on social media about the implications of wearing a mask and a concealed weapons permit. Now, to clear up this confusion, the Cascade County Sheriff said that you can still wear a mask and lawfully carry with your permit.
More now on plans for the fall plans for Great Falls Public Schools. They proposed a 12-element plan that would change with what phasing the state is in. They will be limiting the number of people who can attend student events, but will be taking steps to live stream, and they will be encouraging students and teachers to wear masks and in specific settings requiring them. They will also offer remote learning if a parent chooses to go that route. They'll be looking at schedule changes to accommodate limiting student interaction and striving for a 3 to 6 foot distancing in classrooms. And they'll also be marking hallways for one-way traffic flow. Great Falls Superintendent Tom Moore says they'll be making changes for social distancing.
We're going to strive for a 3 to 6 foot distance between students in classrooms. Some of our classrooms are tighter than others, and rescheduling some classes into larger spaces will be happening. We've also vacated a lot of the furniture from some of our classrooms, and they're going to look a little barren and stark in some cases so that we have more room for seats and desks to be spread apart.
The Board of Trustees will meet August 10th to go over the plan and make any changes. In the meantime, teachers, students, and parents are invited to review the plan and email any comments or questions to the superintendent directly. Well, we'll switch gears now. Another dry, hot day, and that means our fire danger is on the rise, so be careful out there. Meteorologist Grant Garland joining us now with a first look at our forecast. Grant?
All right, well, good evening, Tim, and good evening, everybody. I hope that you have had a great Thursday night. We did see a very warm day today. Temperatures got up to around 86 degrees here in the Electric City. A little bit warmer in Helena, 88, but let's head on out to Jordan, 94 degrees. Wow, very, very hot day today. Currently, though, 70 degrees. I'll take that any day. 77 in Helena, 67 in Lewistown, 76 in Glasgow, and 68 in Cutbank. And our winds, well, we aren't seeing really anything that sticks out except 6-mile-per-hour winds here in Great Falls and 5 up in Havre. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a few clouds trying to make their way from Cutbank out towards Havre and down to Great Falls. Looking at a fire weather warning also for our friends down in Deer Lodge, as well as as well as Boulder, all thanks to tomorrow's conditions, which we'll talk about later. And tonight, temperatures will fall down to around 58 degrees, mostly clear skies, though, with a southwest wind right around 10 miles an hour. Now, we are looking at a cool down this weekend, but by how much? We're going to talk about that and more, but for now, back to you.
Thanks, Grant. Well, the Blackfeet Nation has received over $2 million in funding to help with housing for their tribe and COVID-19 relief. It's all a part of the Paycheck Protection Program, a loan that helps businesses keep their workforce employed. They tell us they are looking into housing for the homeless on the reservation. Officials tell us they are trying to come up with solutions to help with the demand for housing. A reminder, if you plan on traveling this weekend, all access to Glacier National Park from the east entrances remain closed.
To unemployment numbers now, an additional 1.3 million workers filed claims last week. Those are the latest numbers from the Labor Department today. Jobless claims have been declining but are still at historic high levels. At least 17 million people across the country are receiving unemployment insurance right now. As for Montana's latest figures, we saw initial claims jump from the week before, now at over 2,700, with continued claims down from the previous week but still at more than 39,000. Coming up next on the 10 o'clock news, MTN Investigates heads to Roosevelt County for a special report.
More on a deadly intersection that's been in the spotlight after another tragic accident.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
In Roosevelt County, residents are outraged after a deadly train accident in May. They say officials aren't taking the area seriously, even after 3 deaths in 9 months. MTN Investigates' Keely Van Middendorp joins us now with more. Keely?
That's right, Tim. The May 29th accident report has yet to be published. Federal regulations say a report must be submitted to the Federal Railroad Administration by a certain date. That deadline is now up. MTN Investigates continues to wait for those details. In the meantime, I talked with Culbertson residents who are left feeling frustrated after May's tragedy. They're still reeling from another deadly accident that claimed the lives of 2 young men last August.
We begin in northeastern Montana, where one man is dead following a collision with a train this morning.
Culbertson residents say they're reliving their worst nightmare after news of another death at a railroad crossing in May.
When we heard about this, it was just devastating to think now someone else.
A man operating a John Deere sprayer tractor at a crossing with no crossing arms was killed in the collision with the westbound train with 10 cars.
The 65-year-old Sydney farmer, later identified as Rocky Norby, was the 3rd person to die at that intersection in 9 months.
They were such huge-hearted boys.
18-year-old Brian Peterson and 21-year-old Caleb Fell both lost their lives at the crossing last August.
Brian was one of your down-home boys. He wanted to go to trade school and come back and open a mechanic shop here. And Caleb, the same way, had aspirations of going into music.
I always sent out 2-man crews because, so one guy wouldn't get tired. You could switch drivers.
Lacqua says what started out as a shorter shift for the 2 young men August 17th, 2019, turned into a tragedy that continues to haunt him.
I mean, it was devastating, that's a call you don't want to get.
MTN Investigates requested footage from the August crash from BNSF and the crash report from the Montana Highway Patrol. Officials denied both inquiries. We were able to speak with the MHP trooper who saw footage of the deadly collision.
It started to slow right before the tracks and then just kept going onto the tracks in front of the train.
Lacqua believes Brian and Caleb would still be alive today had they known a train was just moments away from crossing.
If there was arms or a blinking light, nobody would have died here.
Our hearts are just broken. You just still can't imagine they're not here.
Trooper Moon said his investigation found geography was not a factor in the August crash, but things like dirt on the truck's window and objects inside were.
The front passenger was blocking some view from that direction.
Railroad safety expert Bob Comer has spent over 30 years investigating accidents around the country. He believes things like the area's landscape did contribute to the tragic outcome.
I think that the terrain was a factor in the crash. The speed of the train was a factor.
Now, safety officials say it's not just one, but a combination of several things that makes this intersection so dangerous. Those being a single-lane, downward-sloping bridge and a wide curve in the railroad track that creates a perfect storm for those hauling heavy equipment.
We all pray that they didn't see it coming.
The most recent collision in May marks 4 deadly crashes at the crossing since 1984, with numerous injuries reported in several of those tragedies. LACWA says safety improvements like crossing arms are long overdue.
After you have a fatality, that should maybe automatically initiate something like that. Definitely after 3. Hopefully now after 4.
Mackert says Brian and Caleb's families want that spot taken seriously by state officials.
Once everybody sees work actually being done, I think it's going to bring a lot to this community.
Roosevelt County Commissioner Gordon Olkers says they've been saving up for a solution.
It all takes a lot of time to do this.
They're using 2 years' worth of gas tax funds to replace the bridge and widen the road leading to the crossing. The county upgrades will cost $200,000. Railroad crossing improvements will then cost another $280,000.
Prioritize those projects where the greatest safety improvement can occur first.
Preep says the state of Montana receives $3 million each year to improve things like public railroad crossings.
There are strings attached to the money, so we do have to be thoughtful about the decision-making process.
A safety study will take place this or next month. BNSF, state, and county officials will look at a number of variables like vehicle volume and road geometry.
And we also take into account if there are crashes at that crossing.
Get whatever safety equipment they would like to have at this done as safely and efficiently as possible.
The conversation will determine where the crossing upgrade falls on the state's priority list. Olkers told MTN Investigates they are hoping to get the upgrades in a year or more.
It seems like you're not doing anything, but we're trying to work on it as we go.
LACWA says the communities of Culbertson and Bainville simply don't have the time to sit and wait.
Anger, frustration, there's a good chance that somebody else is going to die here within that next year.
While major upgrades are months off, MTN Investigates asked state, county, and railroad officials what could be done now to make the area safer for drivers, like installing signage.
But I will for sure look at this in more detail with my rail highway staff members.
We found no clear answer from officials about any immediate improvements.
That is BNSF right away. We don't have the authority to put a stop sign on there.
But after MTN Investigates started making calls, BNSF officials informed Olkers they would be installing yield signs.
So there will be some new signage from BNSF.
We found the area would qualify for stop signs on both sides of the tracks under Montana law. Was there any discussion of putting in a stop sign before that?
No.
It's unclear whether or not railroad and county officials will consider the change per MTN Investigates request.
All you have to do is drill 2 holes and put the 2 wood screws in there. What's it going to take? 5 minutes? A sign?
Something needs to be done.
Community members say they mourn the lives taken too soon on the tracks as they are left to wait for any change.
When things first happened, both moms had said if we could just prevent anyone else from dying on these tracks so that they didn't die in vain. We can't bring our boys back, but that would be something that we could find some peace in.
And there is no installation date set for any sort of signage. We are awaiting responses from Roosevelt County commissioners. We, of course, have more on this story on our websites. Back to you.
Well, there are around 2 million living women veterans in America, but according to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, those women don't always get the same recognition as their male counterparts. On Wednesday, the likeness of Montana women were captured in black and white photographs for the I Am Not Invisible campaign. The campaign aims to increase awareness and dialogue about America's women veterans who say their service can sometimes be overlooked. There are more than 8,500 women veterans living in Big Sky Country, with around 3,700 using VA medical services.
That's why it's even more important to make sure that here in the facility, here in our C-Box, when a woman veteran comes in, because it's always been such a male environment, that they see themselves, they see that female poster. They'll see the I Am Not Invisible poster.
A photographer for the Secretary of Veterans Affairs has been traveling across the country photographing and collecting stories of women veterans.
Well, temperatures tomorrow not quite as hot as today, but still very warm. 83 in Lewistown and 87 in Havre. What about for the rest of the weekend? Well, stay tuned to my full forecast coming up right after this break.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with Grant Garland.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope that you have had a fantastic Thursday night. We have made it to the best end of the, the best day of the work week, Friday. Got myself caught in words there. 84 degrees is the typical average that we see for this year. We actually saw 86 degrees today here in Great Falls. The record set back in 1919 when it was a whopping 102 degrees. Also the year that the pop toaster was invented. How about that? Well, take a look at this shot. It looks absolutely gorgeous. The downtown area as well as the Milwaukee substation looks beautiful, and it feels nice too. Temperatures right now 70 degrees in the Electric City, 77 in Helena, 67 in Lewistown, a little bit warmer up in Havre at 73 degrees, and 76 for our friends out in Glasgow. As far as our winds are concerned, we aren't seeing any problems at all. 6-mile-per-hour winds in both Great Falls as well as up towards Cutbank, and 5 in Havre. Now, as we take a look at our temperatures as well as our wind speeds, what are we really seeing as far as relative humidity? We're still pretty dry, 38%. That has gone up though, thankfully, but for our friends in Helena, still in the low 30s. Lewistown though, up to around 56%. Over the last 3 hours, we have been looking at a few clouds making their way down towards central Montana, and that will be the continuing trend, I believe, especially for tomorrow morning when we have a cold front that starts to make its way through the Electric City by around the noontime hour. So that's what we're going to talk about here in the next couple of seconds. Cold front moves in tomorrow. It's going to allow for our temperatures to stay in the lower 80s for the weekend, and then we're going to be warming back up next work week. So here we go. Let's see, around 6 in the morning, cold front strengthens. It's going to take its time to get down towards us by around 1 p.m. Clouds are going to start to build into the area. This will allow for some moisture to be brought into the Treasure State, which we desperately need. Then by around 6 o'clock, we're going to be looking at a few showers developing right along this front. I think that we're going to pretty much stay dry for the most part, but I mean, a 20% chance of an isolated thunderstorm is possible. I do believe though that we'll stay mostly dry, not only for tomorrow, but also on Saturday. As far as our wind gusts are concerned, 10 to 20 mile per hour winds possible. Not really seeing anything though that stands out in my mind, so I think that we'll be okay. But here we go. Here's the fire. This is a graphic that we put together today. We have our temperatures, now we have our humidity, now we have our wind gusts. So where do we lie on this as we go throughout the day tomorrow? Well, in terms of fire weather, right around 4:30 is when we're going to be at our driest point. And we're looking at all of our boxes in the orange. So please make sure that you do your part and not light anything because of the certain circumstances that we are in right now. You can always follow me at meteorologist Grant Garland on Facebook as well as downloading the free KRTV app. 58 degrees tonight in Great Falls as well as Helena, 57 in Lewistown, 58 in Hayes, 59 in Malta, and 60 out towards Jordan. Going throughout the day tomorrow by 1 p.m. we're going to see 82 degree temperatures. By 7 p.m. 78. As far as what we can expect over the next 3 days, temperatures are going to still stay in the 80s, looking at sunny skies for the most part. On Sunday, we could be looking at a 20% chance of an isolated thunderstorm or two. By Monday, partly sunny skies, temperatures 82, but then we rebound up to 88 on Tuesday and 90 degrees on Wednesday and Thursday. Tim?
Thanks, Grant. Still to come, thinking outside the box to bring athletes together for an important camp.
That story just ahead on the 10 o'clock news. Stay with us.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, even though the Montana Coaches Association clinic was canceled, the Frontier Conference is still moving forward with a free clinic of their own.
That's right. MTN's Tom Wiley shows us what the event will look like and why it's important.
For 3 years, the Hoops for a Cause Skills Camp brought multiple Frontier Conference teams together to offer a 2-day clinic for young athletes. But with COVID-19 affecting athletics across the board, an in-person event wasn't feasible, so organizers had to think outside the box.
I had done a virtual clinic, a couple months ago, and it was really good. And I just thought, well, let's use the Frontier coaches if they're willing. And 12 for 12, they said yes. We got such good coaches and players. Everybody knows that. But we have great people.
Frontier Conference coaches are offering a free virtual clinic July 29th and 30th. Each year, they pick a cause or family to support, and they're continuing that tradition despite the virtual setting. This year, they're raising money for 5-year-old Finley Grace Foster and her parents, Pat and Katie Whitmore.
He just reached out to me and said, hey, I got this thing. We do a Hoops for a Cause, and we, and I've been following your daughter from the get-go. He goes, if there's anything, we can do, and he mentioned bringing it up for this, and I was like, oh, that touches you.
In the past, he's not ever had all coaches and staff commit, and he said he mentioned Finley's name, and everyone was absolutely on board.
It would take all day to describe the medical journey Finley has been through. Suffice to say, she and her parents have experienced more trauma than any family should have to go through, and recently suffered a setback, requiring yet another hospital stay.
Knowing that Finley had just been back in the hospital again with some seizures and things like that, it was the right time, and I just know it's a need for them, and if we can help in any way, we just want to do that.
But as of earlier this week, Finley is back home, and the support from friends, family, and even complete strangers continues even 5 years later.
It leaves us. It's a very overwhelming feeling. Leaves us speechless to know we've been doing this for 5+ years now, and we still have that much love and support. And I just feel like saying thank you is never enough.
Though Hoops for a Cause will look different, the mission remains the same.
Look up at Tom and say bye. Bye.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
And Hoops for a Cause has set up a GoFundMe account to raise money for the Foster family. If you'd like to donate, we've shared that link on our website, KRTV, and MontanaSports.com. Stick around. A final check of your forecast is next.
Well, we are looking at temperatures around 58 degrees tonight, 59 in Havre, 58 in Hayes. As we go throughout the day, tomorrow 64 degrees by 7 a.m. and then by 4 p.m. 82 degrees. Altogether, we will be warm, but not as hot as today, where we saw temperatures around the mid to upper 80s. 85 in Great Falls and 84 in Helena. And then we're going to be looking at temperatures right around 81 degrees on Sunday for the rebound to 88 on Tuesday.
Thanks, Grant. Well, coronavirus has you so stressed out that you just want to scream, or maybe in Grant's case, laugh. Iceland is ready to help.
That's right. Its tourism board has a website where you can record your screams and listen to others as well. Iceland will broadcast your screams with speakers set up in remote parts of the country. The country has had less than 2,000 coronavirus cases and only 10 deaths.
I'm so confused on this. Do they want more,
I don't know.
I guess more coronavirus in a way in their country?
All I got out of that was scream as loud as you can.
Right. I mean, it's a good
what I do in my car
practice.
just about every night.
Yeah,
so.
right. That's all the time we have tonight at 10. Thanks so much for watching.
Good night.